Yiddish and German. Two languages you may have noticed share quite a lot in common. Why is that? Historical linguists still debate the actual origins of Yiddish. While some contend its original foundation is in the Rhenish dialects, i.e., those spoken on the Rhine, others place its cradle farther west in the land known as Lotharingia, or even farther east in Bavaria. Whatever its true origin, Yiddish has traditionally been the language of the Ashkenazi Jews. The Ashkenazi derived their name from Ashkenaz, a descendant of Noah who is mentioned in Genesis chapter 10, verse 3. There is some scholarly debate about whether the Ashkenazi are direct descendants of Ashkenaz, the man whose descendants are thought to have been the Scythian people. What is less controversial is what Ashkenaz came to refer to from the 8th century to the 14th century in the rabbinical literature: Germany. The area that served as the center of Ashkenazi culture towards the beginning of our timeline was composed of cities like Speyer, Worms, Mainz, Koblenz, and Cologne, basically cities on the Rhine River Valley leading from the modern-day Palatinate to North Rhine-Westphalia. Initially, there were certain protections for the Ashkenazi afforded by the clergy, which made this area attractive for Jewish settlement. Over the course of the medieval era, however, life gradually got harder for the Jewish populations in modern-day Germany. Particularly during the time of the Crusades, persecution loomed high, and many Jews began to settle farther east outside of German-speaking lands. Anti-Semitism would also take hold in the aftermath of the plague. In search of a brighter future, the Ashkenazi moved eastward. Poland would ultimately become the home for Europe's largest Jewish population. Some would venture farther east into the Pale of Settlement, the areas the Russian Empire designated for Jews. Because of these migrations, the Ashkenazi homeland gradually shifts from Central Europe to Central Eastern Europe to Eastern Europe over the medieval era and into the early modern era. Due to this dispersal, the language began to fragment into distinct Eastern and Western dialects. Eastern dialects came under the influence of the national tongues spoken in their new homelands. This has led Yiddish to absorb many Slavic words. Unfortunately, and in spite of already being pushed from their ancestral home, there were more trying times ahead. The Holocaust and post-war geopolitics drastically reduced and scattered the remaining Yiddish speakers. A big factor here was Israel's decision to adopt Hebrew as its national language. Today, Yiddish is spoken mostly in Jewish diasporic communities in places like New York City, Montreal, London, and Paris, to name a few. Despite never achieving national language status, Yiddish has left a lasting impression on many European languages, German in particular. We'll now turn to a few examples that illustrate this influence. Vermasseln is a great verb which is derived from the Yiddish mazel, which in turn is from the medieval Hebrew meaning luck. Think mazel tov, which means good luck but is effectively used like congratulations in English. The ver prefix renders its meaning to convey bringing the opposite of good luck, in this case, screwing something up. Wenn wir diese Chance vermasseln, dann haben wir keine Hoffnung mehr. When we screw up this opportunity, then we have no more hope. Pleite gehen. This one has its roots in the Yiddish pleite, which comes from this Hebrew word, which means something like escape or rescue. As a noun, pleite had the original meaning of the act of fleeing from a debtor. Now it means to go bust or bankrupt. Nach seinen Spekulationen ist die Firma pleite gegangen. After his speculating, the company went bust. We'll end our time together with a rather germane etymology for this time of year whose true origin is still being debated. Einen guten Rutsch ins neue Jahr, to have a good slide into the new year, literally, is thought to derive from a German corruption of the word Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year's festival and literally means head of the year. And with that, we have our last example. Ich wünsche euch allen einen guten Rutsch ins neue Jahr.